Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is the take on this Friday morning, and what an unbelievable week, a record-setting week that we've had. We look at the S&P, we look at the Dow, take a look at the Nasdaq. You just take your pick. The markets have been absolutely ripping for the most part. We've had a little bit of volatility here and there as well, but the volatility levels are still in the teens. So what does that really mean? Well, I take a look over at the Dow from yesterday. We started off strong. We looked like things were starting off really, really nicely with the market. We were looking at the Dow up 100 points. We're looking at a strong Nasdaq up 80, maybe 100 points. We started to accelerate a little bit. Matter of fact, you look over at the Dow, is up about $1.80, kind of flatlined on a nice move. Although when we're looking up about 150 points or so on the Nasdaq, then to look back at the Dow, the final hour, we absolutely crushed it. Another 100 points, finished up 240 points. Nasdaq kind of the same sort of a deal, added to its already impressive day and finished up 212 points for the Nasdaq. So gives you a little bit of an idea of some of the strength. What was really pushing that? Well, technology stocks, there's no doubt about it. We also had, however, we had materials, we had industrials, we had financials, all of them up more than 1%. You look at consumer discretionary, that was a strong day. Energy was up also, up about 0.7%. So a lot of participation across multiple sectors yesterday. That was really lifting both sides of the market when you're looking at the Nasdaq and the Dow itself. Bitcoin, 62,000, seems to be hovering somewhere between 60,000, 63,000. Not so bad. A really, really nice run. And now it seems like it's taking a breather for a little while before the next move potentially to the upside. 10-year, right around 156. That's been something that was starting to move a little bit around. We did have that spike up towards 17 earlier. And then we've been sort of basically hovering around these levels ever since. I look over at crude somewhere between 82 and 83. It's pulled off of those highs. Matter of fact, it's been a record-setting thing for crude in terms of the movement to the upside. But this week, it looks like we might finally not get new highs. We'll see. And that'll be something to watch very, very closely. When I say new highs, I mean establishing a newer high than the week before. So volatility, as I mentioned, right around that 16.5 level. By the way, the volumes yesterday, absolutely outstanding once again. 42.9 million contracts trading yesterday. And nobody's going to guess this one, so I'm just going to have to tell you. Was Tesla leading? No. Was it Apple? Absolutely not. Maybe Microsoft? No. The leader yesterday was Lucid. Now, we've been talking about how dominant the EV space has been. And when I say that, I mean the batteries, all of the different components that go into anything in the electronic vehicle world. So it's not just the auto manufacturers, but it's the entire composite. We have been absolutely on fire here at the with unusual option activity in that particular segment. Unbelievable. Matter of fact, completely has dwarfed and taken over for what was a dominant area, energy. It's been EV now for the last few weeks. It's been absolutely incredible. So Lucid led 2.5 million contracts yesterday. Apple did have 2 million contracts. It's a really busy day. Tesla nearly that, about 1.8 million. Then you look at Facebook, 1.5 million, or 1.3 million. Ford, 1.5 million. So a lot of activity in specific names, really kind of dominating. But 42.9 million contracts, a really, really impressive day once again. It's why the derivatives markets are the place to be. You got to have the knowledge. You want to have that understanding. You've got to understand the pricing. We talk about that each and every day. What were some of the stocks that really stood out? Well, Tesla, up 3.7% yesterday. How about Lucid, up 31%? 31% for Lucid yesterday, an unbelievable move to the upside. NXPI was up about 4%. You add to that Applied Materials, Microchip, KLAC, Tencor, you know the drill. All of those semis having a really nice day. Merck had a great day, up about 6%. Caterpillar up about 4%. Apple added about 2.5%, kind of giving a lot of that back today, as a matter of fact. Visa continues to have pressure. Matter of fact, we've been talking about that particular area of the market, and there has been pressure. Visa continues to be under pressure as well. By the way, Ford, 8.7% to the upside, a really, really nice, strong move from Ford, not something that we're used to seeing, but lately it certainly has been a little bit more prevalent as that stock has had a really, really nice move to the upside. So we're still deep into earnings. We get into the earnings last night. Everybody's looking forward to it. We already had Microsoft. We had all these other names. It's now up to Amazon and Apple. Both of them disappointed. Both of them fumbled the football. And it's something that really was weighing on the market early on, and that was certainly a pressure. Matter of fact, early on, the Nasdaq was down about 145 points. The Nasdaq has not fully recovered, but last I looked, it was trading down about 70 points, but it had recovered significantly when you cut that number in half. Then you look at the Dow that was in negative territory, actually got into the green, and now it's starting to pull back again. Last I looked, Dow was down about 50 points. It had gone positive about 30 or 40 points before this little bit of a pullback. So definitely some intraday volatility going on in the first hour of trade, supply chain issues, something that was brought up by both Amazon and Apple. And actually, when you look at some of the numbers, specifically, I'm talking about Apple, I was not disappointed with the quarter nearly from what the reaction that we're seeing today. What I'm seeing and looking through numbers-wise, the numbers actually, in my opinion, were actually fairly impressive, but disappointed in some specific areas, talking about iPhone specifically. So we got the volatility index. Yeah, we're pushing up towards that 18 level. That was something that was moving along as we were getting pressed to the downside. Also, oil, as I mentioned, that down towards that 82, actually below 82 the last I looked. The 10-year had lifted up. It was 1.6 or thereabouts. Not a lot of movement necessarily in the sectors, but the sectors themselves. Energy was up about 0.5%. It did slide back as oil kind of pulled back a little bit. Of consumer discretionary up or down, about a 1.5%. That's down about 1%. Kind of recovered a little bit. Technology just kind of hovering around, down about 0.5%. You'd almost think it would be more, but it doesn't appear like we are getting, at least initially we were getting this where it was dragging the entire NASDAQ, but then it seemed a little bit more specific to Amazon and Apple on that pullback, and that's why I think we were starting to see some of that movement as we cut some of those losses a little bit in the NASDAQ. Names like Microsoft that actually were very much in the positive, actually hitting new highs. Bitcoin, I mentioned that earlier, about 61,000 today. So off a little bit, nothing very major. And then I look over, we talk about energy all the time and some of the exposure there. Chevron, really, really nice report. Great free cash flows, unbelievable. As a matter of fact, revenue up 80% year over year. That name was positive. ExxonMobil also was positive. Exxon, about 60% of that up on revenue year over year. Also had some really strong profits there. Starbucks getting hammered. That was down about anywhere between 7 and 8%. Take a look over at U.S. Steel off that report, up significantly, up 14%. That's a heck of a move for an old guard steel company, but a really nice move on their report. Matter of fact, that's dragging up Nucor, which was actually up about 3% as well. Amazon, Apple, both of them definitely struggling, down 3.5%, 4%, whatever it might be. We'll see how that actually finishes as we get through the day. This is only the first hour of the day. Chinese names, a little bit of pressure once again on all of those names, from NetEase to Baidu to PDD to JD, all those names under a little bit of pressure. So got two unusuals, and then I've got the halftime report and the 5 o'clock show tonight as well. So a really, really busy day. I tell you what, for unusual, I'm going to give you a UPS. Why? It's already reported earnings. We've already had unusual option activity time and time again in UPS. But now, what are the catalysts in front of us right now? Not really sure, but I will tell you, November 5th expiration. So 1 week out, they bought the 225 calls. Stock was trading around 215.15 at the time. Bought 3,900 of these calls. These, again, are the November 5th expiring 225 calls. 28 cents up to about 60 cents on those options. My second one does go back to energy, but a little bit more towards the clean energy side. Not EV necessarily, but Suncor, symbol SU. Now this name, 6,000 of the January 30 calls, 65 cents up to about 70 cents for these calls. So this one going out in time, and by the way, they are spreading it. They're buying the January 30s. They're selling the January 35 calls against that. Why do I leave that out? I'm not leaving it out. I'm adding it now, but I'm focused on the calls themselves that they are buying. What are they purchasing? So at the stock 2640, they're buying the January 30s, going out in time a little bit. Everything else has been extremely short. Now we're seeing something go out in a little bit into the future as we get out to January. Certainly a lot different than these weekly and sometimes just multiple days before expiration. A lot of the options that we saw this week, definitely very, very short term. This extending out just a little bit. Folks, have a great day of trading. Look forward to seeing you at noon. We got a lot to talk about then. We also got the 5 o'clock show as well. Look forward to that. Hey, Market Rebellion. We also have our cocktail hour tonight as well. So we'll be talking about that right after that 5 o'clock show Eastern time. Folks, have a great day of trading.